So, did you know that the majority of viewers on this channel watch my content on a smartphone? Now this is incredible for a few reasons. First off, YouTube Analytics is detailed enough to tell me not only what type of device people watch my stuff on, but what country they're from, what the average gender of my users are, and yeah, it's not perfect, but it's really incredible to think about. But second off, watching content on a device that can fit in your pocket. This is something that we all take for granted nowadays, but we don't really realize how revolutionary this is. I remember back when I was a kid growing up in Texas during the Bush presidency, the young Bush's presidency. I was a late 90s kid after all, and going on many a road trip with my parents to New Orleans. Now, I could have brought some games to play my trusty GameBoy Advance. It was an SP, not a micro like this, but I was much too cool for that. Instead, I brought some of these GBA video cartridges. Does anyone remember these? How you could watch TV shows and movies on your Game Boy Advance?
TV shows on the go, TV shows on the go, it's GBA Video!
Now granted, there wasn't much on each of these cartridges. You either had one movie or a couple TV episodes, but the novelty was still rather awesome. Granted, the video quality of these things wasn't the best, especially compared to those newfangled portable DVD players, but it looked fine enough played on an actual Game Boy Advance screen. Plus, being on a cartridge meant you didn't have to deal with some of the not so flattering aspects of a portable DVD player. Funnily enough, my parents actually had a portable DVD player at this point, but I think I opted for these instead for this particular trip, mainly because I got way too annoyed by the DVD skipping whenever we'd hit any sort of small bump on the road. Nintendo clearly wasn't the only company to realize that there was a market for selling kids incredibly compressed versions of their favorite TV shows and movies in a portable format. Remember Video Now from Tiger? I had a friend who actually had one of these as a kid, and trust me, as bad as SpongeBob may look on a blown up Game Boy Advance screen, at the very least it wasn't in black and white. So with that long-winded introduction out of the way, let me ask another question. Who remembers Sonic X? I know 4Kids aired it in the US, but my only memories of actually watching the show as a kid was catching some episodes on a TV station while on a trip to Singapore. I remember in particular catching the episode where Sonic went up against Perfect Chaos and being like, oh cool, that's the water monster from that Sonic Adventure game. I kind of want to play that game again now. I'm kind of assuming that was the point. Now, when it comes to actual GBA video cartridges I had as a kid, I mainly just had Nicktoons and Pokemon. I didn't know Sonic X was on there until I was well into my teens, where I went back and actually watched a few episodes. But today, for this video that I promised to do for my 7,000 subscriber special, and oh whoops, I'm past 10,000 now, we're taking a look at the first 2 episodes of Sonic X as shown on the Game Boy Advance cartridges. Oh boy. So welcome to Stuff We Play, where today we aren't even technically talking about a video game, but if that's cool to you, why not subscribe? Sonic X for GBA Video. Of all the Sonic games, quote unquote, this is the one I get asked to review the most, next to Sonic 06 of course. But what makes it so special? Well, nothing really. It's the first 2 episodes of Sonic X, but in a compressed form on a Game Boy Advance cartridge. Though there is some interaction, you can fast forward and rewind each episode, and there's also a menu you can go through to watch each episode or, to view the credits by themselves, because I know that's what I always loved the most as a kid, but really, that's it. As far as gameplay goes, my DVD copy of Yu-Gi-Oh! The Movie has more going for it. So I don't think it'd be fair to review Sonic X for GBA as a game, because it's not. It's essentially just a video format. So what we're instead going to do is go through each of these 2 episodes, I'll give you my thoughts along the way, and then at the end I'll give you my thoughts on Sonic X as a whole, and ultimately see if going back and watching it after not watching it for, it's definitely been years, let's see if my thoughts have changed at all. So let's get right into it. So upon starting up this totally not a game, we're greeted with the American theme song for Sonic X. Hear that? How he's gotta go fast? That's the magic that memes are made of, kids. As a bit of a nice touch though, the intro only plays upon booting up the cart, but then does not play itself during either of the 2 episodes on the cartridge itself. I like that. That's a nice touch. So the first episode here is the pilot for the series itself, and according to the back of the box, it goes as follows.
When the heroic Hedgehog smashes into Dr. Eggman's heavily guarded compound to snatch the 7th Chaos Emerald, Eggman panics and initiates Chaos Control. Blasted into a confusing new world, Sonic's soon the target of a high-speed police squad that'll stop at nothing to get their man, or their hedgehog,
Special thanks to Dillin Thomas for reading these synopses, by the way. But with that, let's plunge into our first episode, Chaos Control Freaks. They say first impressions are everything, and the first actual impression we're given of Sonic X is remarkably strong. It's a dark and ominous night with Big the Cat off somewhere being a lazy fat ass. Meanwhile, over at the Dr. Eggman building, trouble is brewing. Suddenly, Sonic's there and doing what he does best, infiltrating the Mad Doctor's lair amid a barrage of attacks from various robots. Suddenly, Sonic gets sucker punched into the air, but thankfully Tails and Amy are there to save him through the power of plot convenience. Sonic manages to safely make it into the lair via power ring, while Tails and Amy have a near-death experience, only to be saved by Knuckles. As you can already see, one episode in, they're trying to introduce us to literally every character they can. Meanwhile, at the top of the tower, Dr. Eggman is doing what he does best, as any good evil genius does, of course. Brooding and monologuing. Also, Cream the Rabbit is kidnapped because, I guess Eggman has a thing for rabbit girls? This never gets explained. Now would be a good time to bring up an issue I'm noticing here. The sound mixing is off. At several points it seems like the music is quite a bit louder than the characters who are talking. Just listen to when Cream is speaking here.
Doesn't get in your way, Dr. Eggman. Sonic just tries to stop you from doing all the bad things you like to do. Let's go!
I'm not sure if this is an issue of the GBA video format itself or the wonderful job that 4Kids always did with its dubs, but it's annoying regardless. But anyways, Dr. Eggman has a Chaos Emerald and is planning to use it to get rid of Sonic once and for all by killing it. By sending him to the Shadow Realm. Also, Rouge the Bat is there, because why not? Sonic arrives to save Cream, but Eggman threatens to blow him to bits just with the press of a button. However, Sonic has the power of overly suggestive retorts on his side.
If you can push it before I grab it.
Well, it seems Eggman managed to push it before he could indeed grab it, and everything explodes. What a way for the series to end. Oh wait, we're still going. And Sonic is laying in the middle of a busy street and is staring around aimlessly, likely wondering if he's in hell. Sonic gets ambushed by some easily angered cops for being the wrong color in the wrong part of town, but manages to escape, but not before beginning on a high-speed chase down a highway. After making it over a roadblock, the police take the only action any reasonable police department would to catch what's essentially a weird-looking rodent. Hire an F1 racing team. Why catch him when we can race him? This is never explained. Sonic is off pondering about how he managed to end up in Hedgehog Hell when suddenly the F1 dude, who isn't even important enough to have been given a name yet, shows up. They race, and the sequence is something like this. Unsurprisingly, Sonic wins, and the F1 dude nearly dies. However, Sonic nearly dies as well, because he gets vaulted into the air before falling to a swimming pool, and as we all know, Sonic can't swim. Sonic seems to have accepted his fate and is eagerly awaiting the firm embrace of the Reaper when, suddenly, he gets saved by Chris Thorndike, a kid with an annoying voice who unfortunately becomes a regular in this series. This was around that time when Sega thought that their series about a cartoony blue hedgehog needed more people and realism in it, though thankfully through the power of hindsight, we all know how that ended up. So the first episode ends on a hopeful note, with Sonic and Chris meeting and looking towards the future, but honestly I feel a little mixed. But how will episode 2 go? Well, let's go right into that. Sonic X, Episode 2, Sonic to the Rescue. Will this one be any better or worse? Well, let's see what the back of the box has to say.
Sonic to the rescue. Sonic learns that his buddies Cream and Cheese are being held at the top of a secret military base, so Chuck hatches a plan to save them. The mission goes smoothly until Sonic finds the base is booby-trapped. Then it's a full throttle race against time to a startling last-minute surprise.
And once again, that was the incredible Dillin Thomas reading that. Definitely go check him out, y'all. Well, that sounds like quite an adventure, so let's spin dash right into it. The episode begins with Chris on the phone with his stuck-up sounding mother, whom he is lying to, saying that he found a cat in their pool. She's like, meh, whatever. And so it's cool for Sonic to stay at Chris's place. I should mention, by the way, that Chris's family is loaded, like Bill Gates levels of loaded, as is evident from the mansion, butlers, and multiple swimming pools. This was obviously a choice made by the creative team behind Sonic X because the majority of children in the world around will relate to no one better than a posh, spoiled little brat. So Chris finally asked a question on everyone's mind.
Where and when did you learn how to talk, Sonic?
And Sonic's just like, Then Chris's dad calls and screams at him a bit before Chris tries to feed Sonic cat food. because of course, something that walks and speaks like a person eats cat food and, not food. Sonic and Chris then watch some TV and see a recap of the past episode's events. We're also introduced to Doc Brown, who's Chris's grandpa. Upon seeing Sonic for the first time, Doc Brown's initial reaction is to try to inappropriately touch him with a screwdriver. Suddenly on TV, we see that Cream the Rabbit has once again been kidnapped. Cream has been taken by the government of this country, America, to the mysterious Area 99. I guess they're planning to anal probe or kill her or something? It's never explained. Doc Brown and Chris give Sonic an infrared scope and help him break into the mysterious government base that apparently everyone knows about. Sonic then locates an air vent and manages to get in without prompting attack. He does unfortunately hurt his ass in the process.
It feels like I have skid marks on my butt.
Sonic stealthily sneaks suspiciously through the secret base as Cream fears for her life. The base's electrical power gets shut off somehow, and Sonic manages to smash into the lab where Cream is being kept. He busts Cream and her pet child Cheese out of their cell, and they make a mad dash to escape the base while they get shot at. Don't worry though, as this is a 4Kids dub, the bullets are non-lethal. Sonic and Cream nearly get shot in the face by what I can only assume are Nerf balls, but not before all of the guns aimed at them get destroyed by a swarm of mechanical paper airplanes. Our heroes nearly get trapped again, but thankfully Tails shows up in his plane through the power of Deus Ex Machina and rescues them. It's also revealed that was Tails who was responsible for cutting the base's power and creating mysterious mechanical paper airplanes. Afterwards, they all go back to Chris's house, and since he's loaded, they decide to crash with him and his senile grandfather. Tails and Grandpa Doc Brown hit it off together, and Tails then deduces that they've all been transported by Dr. Eggman to a mysterious faraway world, and that all their friends are somewhere there as well. However, it is soon revealed that Dr. Eggman himself has also been transported to this new world, and that he is plotting to take it over. To Dr. Eggman, it doesn't matter what world he takes over, as long as it's a planet and he's ruling it with an iron fist. The episode then ends and we cut to credits, which anticlimactically have no music and just have a still image in the background. So despite its issues, I think that Sonic X Episode 2 actually ends on a really cool note. Dr. Eggman is finally properly here, and I'm excited to see what he does in future episodes, but the real question is, how did the episode itself, or rather both of these episodes, hold up? Well, I feel mixed on the package overall. Along with there being absolutely no practical reason to watch anything via GBA video anymore, Sonic X itself is just a very flawed show. I just don't care for many of the new X exclusive characters such as Chris, and as with many animes such as this, I remember there being a lot of filler episodes. However, it did have its high points as well. There were some great moments throughout the rest of the series, especially when Shadow the Hedgehog was brought into the mix. And then we got to the final season of the show, where it pretty much becomes Sonic except Star Trek, and kind of craps itself all over since it decided not to adapt Sonic Heroes or really any of the other Sonic games, such as the Sonic Advance series. I know this is going to make some people mad, and I know a lot of people have memories of the show, and it's certainly not as bad as something like, say, Sonic Underground. But if you really want to watch a Sonic cartoon, you're better off watching Sonic Boom, or even going back and watching the Sonic Sat AM cartoon from the 90s, which is still great, by the way. Maybe I'll look at that at some point. So, I guess with that polarizing conclusion out of the way, let me know your Sonic the Hedgehog memories, games, TV shows, or otherwise, down in the comment section below. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to Stuff We Play for more great content like this, or even back us on Patreon, because every dollar in from Patreon does go back into the channel itself. So with that, thank you very much for watching, stay classy, and I guess, I don't know, maybe it's time I finally look at Sonic the Hedgehog for Leapster.